to Relished. I'm Alli. I'm a nutritionist and a yoga teacher, and I'm here to talk to you about nutrition every week. This week is all about eggs, some history behind them, which is very interesting that I found out a lot of good stuff, and some health information. We're gonna talk about, are they healthy? Should we be eating them? And then we have a recipe for avocado deviled eggs, which is very exciting. So welcome to the show. Please put any questions or comments in the chat. I love to have a conversation going as well during the show. So please, please, please talk to me. Let me know what's going on. So, okay, so let's just dive right in because I've got a lot of information to discuss, and then we have some deviled avocado eggs, or avocado deviled eggs to make, and I'm super excited. So I have a plate. I'm going to just start by showing you. I have a plate. I've already boiled the eggs so that we have that part done, but that's my visual aid for now. Okay, so the history of eggs in general. Now, we're mostly going to be talking about chicken eggs today, but the history we're going to be discussing is of all different kinds of eggs that people have eaten, that humans have eaten over time. So there are definitely different types of eggs. We'll talk about those. This is interesting. The most commonly eaten eggs in the world are ostrich eggs and chicken eggs. I would have guessed chicken for sure. And I was very surprised about ostrich, but that sounds very interesting. And I think those eggs are pretty big. So they're more filling, I guess. I would love to try one sometime. I've never tried an ostrich egg. So why do we eat eggs? Because they're pretty easy to obtain, great sources of protein, and they are very versatile. So, as time has progressed in history, we use eggs for all different reasons and ways besides just eating the eggs. So let's talk about when people started eating eggs. So in my research, they always refer to, instead of poultry, because I learned that poultry kind of refers to domesticated animals, and fowl refers to animals in the wild, but they're kind of synonymous. So they found that fowl that were found in the jungle in India were domesticated in 3200 BCE. So that was a long time ago. So that was kind of one of the first incidences that they found of humans eating eggs. And then there's also record that people in China and Egypt also domesticated wild fowl to provide eggs for human consumption, and that was around 1400 BCE. And just in general, there's archaeological evidence that egg consumption dates back to the Neolithic age, which is 3900 to 1700 BCE. So did I say 1400 BCE for China and Egypt? Yes. BCE. So Neolithic period is kind of the beginning of when they have found humans consuming eggs. And Europe started domesticating hens in 600 BC, so way after the first incidents of finding it. So that's pretty interesting. The Romans found egg-laying hens in England, Gaul, and among the Germans. And they also have found that ostrich eggs were eaten by the Phoenicians, which that time period was 1550 to 300 BCE. So lots of dates here. I'm not always a history person, but I just found this stuff was really interesting. Also, quail eggs have been a popular food to eat. Is my audio really low? It shouldn't be, but I will just talk louder. Thank you for the feedback. Okay, I'll sit a little bit closer, and I'll talk louder. Hopefully that's better. Okay, so let's see. Oh, quail eggs. Quail eggs are a common egg eaten in the U.S. and in Japan. I've had them. They're very delicious. Let's see. But other other types of eggs are consumed besides quail, besides ostrich, and besides chicken eggs. Eggs are also consumed in other parts of the world and other cultures from partridges, gulls, turkeys, ducks, geese, and pelicans. And in history, turtle eggs were considered to be a highly prized egg to eat, and also sometimes humans have eaten alligator eggs. So that is interesting as well. There are nearly 200 breeds and varieties of chickens that have been established in the world. And I just want to mention, this is kind of a side topic, but if you have ever watched the show Chicken People on Amazon, it is so interesting. It covers a whole group of people that raise all different varieties of chickens, and I highly recommend it. We watched it years ago and found it so fascinating. So check it out, Amazon Prime, Chicken People. I checked and it's still there. We watched it probably 5 years ago, but it's still there. The most commonly used hens for eggs in the U.S. are the single comb white leghorns. So that was interesting. So speaking of U.S. history, so a little bit of background about chickens and eggs and everything in the U.S. In the 1920s and 30s, mostly the eggs consumed were just eggs that people had from chickens at their house, like home farms. And then farmers started gradually, finding that they had extra eggs, so they sold them at farmers markets. And then over time, farmers started beginning to have lots of chickens, up to like 400 hens, where they would produce a lot of eggs, and then they would sell them at farmers markets and other markets, and it became a business. But they did find that keeping the chickens outside was problematic just because of predators and weather, and so that's why they started putting them in hen houses and enclosed areas just to reduce those issues. And then pecking order started becoming an issue as well, because there are just so many chickens, so many personalities. People are, or the chickens are finding out who's in charge and who's not. And so that became an issue as well. But they found that as they moved the chickens indoors, they were less, like the mortality rate went down by 18%. So that's why chickens were raised indoors. But now I know we like our free-range chickens to be able to move and stretch their legs, so it's kind of gone back and forth in time. But one more little piece of information of the history, and then we'll get into the nutrition components of eggs. So annually, about 60% of the eggs produced are for consumers to eat as eggs, and about 9% are used in the food service industry. And then the remaining percentages are used for egg products that go, for also food service, like cake mixes and mayonnaise and restaurants and food manufacturers and things like that. So I thought that was interesting that just 60% are what we find, or what are turned into like the egg cartons that we buy at the grocery. So there we go. Okay, so that's kind of the history around eggs, mostly chicken eggs. So, health information now. So let's talk about the nutrition component of eggs. They are very nutritious foods. Great sources of protein. One egg has about 6 grams of protein. So if you have, scrambled eggs made with 2 eggs, 12 grams of protein, that's great. They're low in calorie. One egg has 72 calories, approximately. Everybody kind of says something different, but that's what I found, 72. The fat is about just under 5 grams. Only 1.6 of those grams is saturated, and the rest is polyunsaturated and monounsaturated, which are good. The one controversial thing is the cholesterol, which we will discuss. I know many of us have always considered eggs like, there's so much cholesterol, especially if you eat more than one, because one egg has 186 milligrams of cholesterol, and we're supposed to get under 300 milligrams per day. So if you eat 2 eggs, you've had your daily amount of cholesterol. So we'll get into that, but that's just a piece of information. Everything I'm going to be presenting today is just information. I'm not going to tell you if you should or shouldn't eat eggs because it's a very individual decision. Many of us love eggs. So anyway, that's that. And eggs do have a little bit of iron. They have a little bit of calcium. They have a little bit of vitamin A. So they are just chock full of goodness. They're very low in carbs, less than a gram of carb per egg. So the egg white holds most of the protein, and the egg yolk has most of the cholesterol and the fat. So that's why many people that are watching their cholesterol, they eat the egg whites. But we'll get into this now. So there's so much conflicting information about this that most of the information I found said that eggs don't necessarily raise your cholesterol just because they're high in cholesterol, but it could. So our liver produces cholesterol. So if we eat a lot of cholesterol, or, if we eat cholesterol, then our liver will produce less cholesterol. So it kind of balances itself out. And then if we don't eat cholesterol, then our liver will produce more. So technically there is a balance, but I'm assuming if we eat a lot of cholesterol, then it might overload the liver. But so that's kind of the story about cholesterol. We do make it in our bodies, but we also eat it. So, the way our bodies react to eggs is very different. So in my research, I found that about 70% of people in our population, eggs don't raise their cholesterol. So that's good news. But there are 30% of people there that are called hyper-responders that eggs can mildly raise cholesterol levels. And in particular, total and LDL cholesterol. LDL cholesterol is the bad cholesterol. So there's that. And then there's some people that have the familial high cholesterol, also known as hypercholesterolemia. And I used to discard the egg yolk because of the cholesterol, but now I do. I was told the egg yolk has lots of nutrients. It has lots of nutrients. That is very true. Yeah, so many good things in the yolks. It has the fats, it has the omega-3s, and we'll get into a little bit more of what else they have. But yeah, I know. It's a tricky thing. It's like the whole discussion about coffee. Should we drink it? Should we not? Is it good? Is it bad? Eggs are definitely in the crossfire of information. So I hear you about throwing it out. Don't throw it out. Lots of good things and the cholesterol. So the take-home message is talk to your doctor about it to see if you have high cholesterol. Otherwise, we'll just talk about the health benefits of cholesterol. So they do find, so some people do have genetic issues that cause you to have high cholesterol just because of your genetics. And that's called hypercholesterolemia. And sometimes it is recommended to not eat eggs or limit eggs and limit cholesterol in our diets if you do have that issue. So sometimes people with higher cholesterol, they have high HDL, which is the good cholesterol, and the good cholesterol, the HDL, protects us from heart disease. But if you have high LDL cholesterol, that could be harmful or it could be a risk factor for heart disease. So something to discuss with your doctors. But now we're going to move into, so basically varying information about if you should or shouldn't eat eggs based on your cholesterol levels. I'm going to talk about the benefits of eating eggs now because there are a lot. So eggs may help lower our risk of heart disease and help sharpen our brains, which that is a good thing, for a lot of different reasons. Hey, Marion! Thanks for joining! Yay! Okay, so eggs are high in vitamin D. They're high in choline. Both of these are good for our brains and good for so vitamin D, we know it's good for our bones, but also could help reduce our risk of heart disease. And vitamin D is kind of hard to find in foods. So, we had the whole episode about vitamin D. Most of our vitamin D comes from the sun or foods that have been fortified or naturally. But like milk, for example, is typically fortified with vitamin D. So anyway, it's naturally in eggs. So that is cool. So that's good for our bones, good for our hearts. Choline, which is also a very important nutrient for us, helps our brains. It helps the neurons in our brain to communicate and build cell membranes. So it's very important, especially for pregnant women, to get choline in their diet so that the developing baby gets pregnant women and breastfeeding women. It's good for the baby's brains, developing and growing, and for our brains too. And also, this is why it's also a benefit for our heart, is that choline breaks down the amino acid homocysteine, which maybe some of us have heard of before. And homocysteine, high levels of it may contribute to heart disease. So if choline is breaking it down, it's reducing the amounts. That's a good thing. So also in pregnancy, folic acid is important, and eggs have folic acid. So that's good because it helps prevent congenital disabilities like spina bifida. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And this list is really long. It's great. Okay, eggs are good for our eyes. So there are several nutrients in eggs, some antioxidants called lutein and zeaxanthin. Zeaxanthin, I think is how you say it. Zeaxanthin. These antioxidants help our eyes. So these powerful antioxidants accumulate in our retina of our eyes. And studies have shown that there's a significant reduction in the risk of cataracts and macular degeneration if you have these two antioxidants that are found in the eggs, if you have them in your diet. They find that those help. So that's good. We need our eyes. And as we said before, eggs are a great source of protein. Protein is the building block of our cells, so of the human body. So that is very important to have good amounts of protein in our diet. And eggs also have all of the essential amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein. There are essential amino acids and there are non-essential amino acids. The essential amino acids are ones that we cannot make in our own body, so we have to consume them in our foods. And so eggs are a complete package. They have it all. And they also help build a healthy immune system because of the vitamin A, vitamin D, B12, and selenium. So these are important key components to having a healthy immune system. Eggs have got them. Okay. They also keep us full longer. So I think it's probably because of the protein in the eggs. So if we eat eggs for breakfast, we're typically full until lunch or full longer than we would be if we had a breakfast high in carbs. So that's a good thing. That is a good thing. So this is conflicting information, but some of the research that I did said that eggs may increase your HDL cholesterol, which is the good cholesterol, which is protective against heart disease. But a lot of the research say that it could raise your LDL as well. So maybe it balances out. Research, it's kind of up in the air. There is also research saying that it could help decrease triglycerides, which is also something we get tested when we get tested for cholesterol. And also there could be a lower risk of stroke from consuming eggs. That is also a controversial research topic. So people research it and find things from both sides. But that was a piece of information out there. And like we said before, the yolks have omega-3 fatty acids, which those are great. That's especially great to get this if you're not somebody that eats the fatty fish like salmon, tuna, and all of that. So this was an option to get your omega-3s from eggs. They naturally have the omega-3s. Sometimes it's added. And the omega-3 that is high in it is the docosahexaenoic acid, the DHA, which is good for our brain and our vision as well. So again, like the range of how much they say you can eat, some sites in, groups say you can have 1 egg a day. 1 egg a week. Some people say you can have 1 egg a day. So it really depends on your relationship with cholesterol and what your comfort level is. So talk to your doctor. But there's so many good things in eggs. And speaking of which, I am really excited to make this recipe. So basically, what we're going to do is we're going to take avocado, onions, cilantro, lime juice, salt and pepper, garlic powder, mash it, put it in the egg whites so I already hard-boiled the eggs, and I took the yolks out, I took the yolks out, and the recipe tells you to include the yolks in the filling, but I'm not going to today, just to keep it a little bit lighter, but you totally can. And this recipe is I put it in the top of the chat there. Hey, Kelly. Scott made a roast last night that took hours longer than expected, so we had our go-to of eggs, rice, and seaweed and kimchi. Oh, that's delicious. Eggs, rice. We do that a lot, too. That's so good. Does it really matter how many eggs a week I consume? Yeah, so that's a great question, and it really just depends on something that we should talk to about with our doctors. Like some people, some of the sites say 1 egg a week. Some say 1 egg a day. So it really just depends on the person. If you have high cholesterol, if you don't. They say 70% of the population isn't affected by eggs. So it's really individually dependent, I would say. A cup. Okay, so I hard-boiled eggs. So we've got our egg whites. And I did a method, the recipe recommended putting the eggs in the water, bringing it to a boil, remove them from the burner, and let them sit for 10 minutes. I have not done that method, and it worked out really well. So I really recommend doing that. The recipe is officially called Easy Avocado Deviled Eggs, and it's from relish.com. I have the link up in the comments. It's from a blog called staysnatched.com. I really like that title, or the name of the blog. Okay, so let's get started. I've got the avocado, took the pit out. I'm going to scoop it into the bowl. Scoop it into the bowl. Okay, so it's kind of like making a version of guacamole, and then you put it in the eggs. I think it's going to be delicious. Okay, so we've got avocado. We've got chopped onion, which I already chopped it very finely. I chopped it very, very fine. Okay. And then, what's next? Oh, cilantro. Oh, and I wanted to say, so we had this cilantro in our refrigerator, not in water. And it was just kind of on the shelf looking really sad. And I put it in water and it really revived itself. So if you ever need to revive some herbs, I really recommend putting it in water like this. Look at that. That was like 5 days ago. So it's kept its spunk. Okay. Next, we're putting cilantro in with the avocado. It'll leave a little bit on the side for garnish. And then lime juice. We've got our trusty lime juicer here. I think you can see what I'm doing. Yes. Okay. Lime juice. 1 lime. 2 lime. Okay. And garlic powder, a little bit, and some salt, and some pepper. And that's it. So you could add the egg yolks if you wanted, but you don't have to. I'm just doing it like this. It would probably make it taste really delicious and rich. Excuse me. So this is just for a lighter version. And I'm just mashing it just like I would with guacamole. And that is looking really good. So then you can either scoop it into the eggs, or I'm going to make my own piping bag. So I've got a trusty Ziploc bag here. And we've got our spoon. I'm going to spoon it into the bag. And actually, this is a good opportunity to mix it a little bit more if you want. So I have it in the corner here, and if you just want to make it a little bit smoother, there are some chunks in here that I didn't get to. So this is kind of nice. Okay. Then I'm going to squeeze it all into the corner. Squeeze it to the corner. I mean, piping, if you have an official piping bag, that works really well too. You're going to have to do a video on the proper way to boil eggs and how to easily remove the shell. I can't stand the taste of cilantro. Any substitutions? Yeah, I totally will do a whole episode on the boiling of the eggs because it was so successful and I did not break any of them in the process of peeling. If you don't like cilantro, very good question and point because it's a love or hate herb, I would say. I would say either leave it out or do parsley or green onions. I always do parsley if I don't really feel like cilantro. So very good question. Okay, so we have our piping bag. Then you snip a corner with the scissors. Just a little snip like that. Okay. And we're going to, here, I'll bring it over here so it's just better to see. And then you just squeeze it into the center of the eggs. Super easy. I'm going to finish this and I'm going to take lots of pictures and post them on my Instagram at Alli Shircliff, ALLISHIRCLIFF. And I will post pictures of this and you can see the final product. I can't wait to try it. It looks so good. They look so, so good. So here we've got 4. Did 4. The recipe calls for 12 eggs, 24 halves, but we actually only had 4 because we have chickens and they definitely lay fewer eggs in the winter and we haven't really been getting any and we just got 4 the other day, so that was really exciting. So anyway, thank you all so much for joining. Thank you for all the questions and the comments. So basically I'm going to keep eating eggs. Love them. Oh yeah, Marion, sorry, I missed your comment. Yes, continue eating eggs. They're delicious and healthy. All right. Thank you all for joining. I really appreciate everybody's listening and comments and everything. Join me next time and we'll have another nutrition topic. Have a great night. Okay, bye.